Hello folks, Bob C-Gar coming to you from my studio in Springfield, Oregon, which is, yes, a lawn chair in front of my garage. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, let's talk about school shooting that happened today. I think the last 3 or 4 school shootings have been done by transgender kids. And you think, well, why is that? Is it that they feel that the Christian community is not accepting them and, everything that goes along with that? And that could be part of it, but I really think you have to take a look at the drugs that they're putting these kids on at very early age, before their brains are fully developed. And all you got to do is watch a commercial and see all of the negative side effects for the drugs that people take. And it makes you wonder. You don't see advertisements for transgender drugs, so I don't even know if we know what all of the side effects of those drugs are. But I do know that any drug that deals with depression or anxiety, most of them, one of the side effects can be suicidal tendencies. And, if you're thinking about taking yourself out, maybe you want to take a whole bunch of people out with you. I'm just speculating on that, but I think that, this idea that it's always the gun, it's always the weapon. And really, I understand the idea that you don't want guns in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. I 100% agree with that. What I don't agree with is this sweeping thing. It's always, well, was the gun registered? Was it this? Was it that? And the reality is most of the time they're all legal guns. And illegal guns are used in crimes every day. So it's really not, it's not the weapon, it's the person operating it. We know about I think it was in Wisconsin, the Christmas, fair or whatever, and somebody drives a car right through there and wipes out a whole bunch of people. If people want to kill somebody or they want to, destroy something, there's a lot of ways to do it. Gun is not the only tool. It may be one of the easier tools to use, but it's not one of it. It's not the only tool. So I would say this. I would say let's look at the outlying causes, and then let's also look at how long. Most of these people had signs that something wasn't quite right. Simply the fact that you're not happy with the body you're born in, and you think you're really a boy but you were born a girl, or you're really a girl but you were born a boy. Okay, those things don't happen overnight. So parents need to understand, hey, I need to check into what my kid's doing. Is my kid okay? Is that, I understand parents saying, hey, I think my kid, since a small child, she really acted like a boy. Maybe she really is a boy, or he really acted like a girl. Maybe he really does want to be a girl. I understand a parent struggling with that, and I understand, wanting to accommodate that to a certain degree. But if you're not monitoring that as they get older, and you're not monitoring their social media, and you're not monitoring, their friends, and how they're functioning in society, then you're derelict as a parent, in my opinion. And I think I know that it's a new investigation, and I would say that we're going to learn more as time goes on. But I saw some stuff. I saw, the gun with the trans flag on it, and, all of this, I guess they had a manifesto that they released on YouTube or somewhere. And most of the time, this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. And a whole lot of people turned their heads or put their head in the sand and didn't want to get involved. And then all of a sudden, something like this happens, and then you get the, well, we didn't really think they would do it, or we didn't expect them to do it, or, yeah, we just thought it was all talk or whatever. But I think that mental illness is a huge, huge, huge part of the American society. And a lot of it has to do with the way it's being treated, in my opinion. I think drugs are just given out from the time kids are little to the time people are in the grave. I mean, it's just, we got a pill for that, we got a pill for that, we got a pill for that, with all of these whacked out weird side effects. And I think that it's time to take a really good hard look at the pharmaceutical industry. It's time to take a good hard look at the psychological, psychiatry, and psychologists, their industry. What what are they seeing? What are they doing? Time to get some real reports on how significant mental problems are in our society. And long-term effects of the drugs that we give people. You look at, I don't even think we've done real appropriate studies on how electronics have affected the youth. 45, 50 years old and younger. What's it done to them? I mean, you look at the social skills of people today, and they're really, really bad. You look at customer service when you go to a restaurant or you go to a drive-through window or whatever. I mean, it's like you're dealing with zombies. And I think that we've lost that personal communication sector of our country, and we need to get it back. We need to really bring it back. And I've seen some things where I think there are some efforts to try to maybe improve those things and help those things. But really, I think it boils down to, turn off the cell phones, turn off the computers, turn off the TV, turn off whatever, go outside, have a barbecue, visit with your friends, go to a party, whatever. I just think we've all just, kind of, landed in this cocoon that we just don't get outside of, and I'm guilty of it just like the next guy, We went on a cruise, I met a lot of people, but I really didn't put myself out there that much, I mean, I met some people and had some good times, and I will say this, I wasn't watching TV, I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't doing that stuff, I was interacting with people, but it's 1 week out of 52, and I think we need to, as a country, we need to start building the small community back up again, talk to your neighbors, get new friends, invite people over, go to their houses, do things, I think that we need to do that, and we need to really encourage our kids to do that. Really sad that however deranged someone is, that they somehow find that they're going to get satisfaction in killing kids. It's the saddest, sickest thing I think that's out there. Our children they're our treasure. They're our national treasure. They're the future. And we have to take a lot better care of them. And the other thing is, I think when it comes to, where the discussion should be, I think discussion should be in several places. One, in the mental health of people. And two, in the social media imprint that people have. What are their followers, friends, you know, whatever. Why are they just turning a blind eye when they see something that's really screwy? And then I think this idea that it comes down to the weapons. No, we need to make our schools impenetrable. You know, people are like, well, we don't want the kids to go into a prison, or what? We don't want it to feel like a prison, or we don't want. Well, guess what? You know who doesn't break? You know who doesn't get broke into? Prisons. You know, yeah, maybe it doesn't really matter that you would prefer that there weren't walls up, or there weren't gates, or there weren't armed guards, or yeah, maybe you would prefer that. But I'm telling you right now, if you would put your kids' safety at risk because of what it might look like, then you're part of the problem. I think we need to make our schools really hard targets. It's got to be where you cannot get in there, you know, and there needs to be badges, and there needs to be security, and there needs to be levels of security. And when someone walks on the property with a gun, there's got to be a green light to just take them out. You know, it needs to be laid out nice and clear. Look, you don't carry a gun on the school ground, period. I don't care who you are. Unless you're the cop, you don't do it. And maybe that seems harsh, and maybe it is harsh. And maybe there's solutions that are better than that one. But I'd like to hear them, and I'd like to see them implemented, because the way I see it right now, this isn't going to end, because I don't think the mental illness is going to end. I don't think the drug abuse is going to end. And I'm talking about prescription drugs as well as illegal drugs. It's not going to end. There's no end in sight. And I think that until we get a grip, and until people start looking at possible side effects and say, you know what, I'm not taking that drug. Yeah, maybe it would help this, but I'm not taking that drug. Then maybe they'll start developing drugs that don't have those bad side effects. Maybe it'll force them to start putting out a better product. So anyway, I'm rambling, as you know, as I do, as I'm really good at least by my account. I think I may have picked up a couple of new subscribers on the cruise. I may have picked up a couple of new subscribers at went to a 53-year class reunion. I think after 50, they started saying they're going to do one every year. And it's kind of hit and miss as to, you know, it's a much smaller crowd, kind of hit and miss as to who's going to be there. But it's the first one I've gone to since the 50th, and it was really good to reconnect with some people, and you know, had a great time, really good time. And if you're a new subscriber, leave me a comment, something, just so I know you're on there. But I did jump up a little bit in subscription, so I think maybe I might have got a couple new ones at the either on the cruise or at the reunion, or maybe both. Anyway, be sure and subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and if you hit that notification bell when I do one of these, you're going to get notified. So it doesn't cost anything, and you don't have to watch it. You know, but at least you know there's one out there. If you're sitting on the toilet looking for something to do, that could be the answer right there. You never know. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great weekend. The Ducks play this weekend, playing Montana State at 1 o'clock at Autzen. Ducks got a brand new quarterback. That'll be good to watch. Be good to see how ready they are for take on the Big Ten. Because it's going to be tough this year. You got Penn State, Ohio State, you know, both teams looking real good, and I think Michigan they're always a big factor. So it should be a good season. Hopefully the Ducks get a good running start, and hopefully this quarterback's a real deal. and we'll find out. Anyway, take care, and hasta luego.